Good afternoon. Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Steve Phipps, and welcome to Wayfind Marketing Live, where our goal and our mission is to help small business owners and nonprofit leaders simplify marketing, make it easier so you can spend more time doing what you want to be doing in your business. And I'm joined, as usual, by my co-host, AnnieLaurie Walters. AnnieLaurie, how are you today?
Doing good. How's it going?
Good. I'm glad it's Friday.
Yeah, me too.
I'm excited about what we're going to be talking about today.
I know. I think we should just dive in because we have so much to cover. We've been working over the last several weeks to present all of our listeners and viewers with a one-page marketing roadmap. And the whole goal of the roadmap is to help you think through at a high level how you can simplify and plan your marketing. But we have saved the best piece for last. And today we're going to talk about how to prioritize. But before we jump into prioritization, I think it'd be useful, since we have covered a lot of ground over the last several weeks. Steve, could you just give us a recap so that when we dive into priorities, everyone knows where we're at with all this?
Yes, absolutely. So for us here at Wayfind, one of the most important things for marketing is having a plan, having something that gives your tactics, your messaging, gives it all direction. Because if you don't have a plan, you're going to waste time, you're going to waste money, you're going to waste energy, and you're not going to get the ROI. You're not going to get the results that you're really wanting and really that you need from your marketing activity. So for our listeners who are joining us on the podcast, right now, I'm showing a few slides. So if you want to catch these, you can catch them on our YouTube channel. You can catch them on our Wayfind website. One of the first things is just talking about what is marketing. And the way that we define marketing is it's the use of words, pictures, media to reach, influence, and communicate. And what we've been talking about the last few weeks is that in putting together a plan, you need tactics to reach people. You need tactics to influence and communicate. And because ultimately what we want is effective marketing builds trust and credibility. And we boil it down to really three questions that we're trying to answer in this one-page marketing plan. And that's, what can I do? So my tactics. What do I say, which is your messaging? And then how do I do it? And that's really the piece that we're going to focus on today. Because if you have a plan, you lay out your tactics, you identify what you want to do, you have clear goals, you have your messaging. If you don't execute, if you don't have a plan for how you're going to get it done, or someone on your team is going to get it done, it's not going to work. And this is usually where plans fail, is because people don't execute. So we're going to walk through a couple of scenarios to show you how to do this. And we'll talk about a couple of tactics that you can do. And now, one of the big reminders when it comes to marketing, you are the guide. If you're familiar with StoryBrand, I'm a StoryBrand certified guide, and it's a framework based on story. And so you are always the guide. Your customer is the hero. And when we think about our strategy, we've talked about how people buy, the process of building relationship, the tactics to do that. And when we understand that, what we do is we boil it down into a one-page marketing roadmap, and we lay out the foundation. We have some of the fundamentals here. And then we get into these tactics. So once you know who your customer is, and so what we're going to focus on today is, what do you do with this? How do you actually execute? And so just as a quick refresh, we talked about drivers. These are the tactics to reach your audience. Engagers are things that you can do to build trust. These convert and nurture, these converters. This is what's going to win somebody over from being a stranger on your website to a lead where you know them and can start marketing to them through email. And then ultimately, what can you do to win more of those customers? How do you build enough trust and credibility that they're willing to invest their money with you in exchange for a product or a service to solve their problem, make their life better? Well, once they become a customer, we don't want to forget about marketing. And so creating raving fans is, how do you create these great shareable experiences so that they continue to be loyal, that they want to do business with you? Next, how do you grow lifetime value? What are ways that you can continue marketing to your existing customers? And then down here, this last blue box is spreading the word. And that's building relationships with your customers so that they become part of your marketing team. And that's by way of referrals, getting online reviews, testimonials, things along those lines. So this is what we've covered. And so that's a super fast recap of what's here. But just in case this is maybe the first time you've joined us, I want you to have a little bit of context for what we're going to talk about today. And so this very last box is, what are your priorities? Now, when you've gone through and you've mapped out and you've identified some tactics for each of those different little sections that we just walked through, got to do something with it. I love working in 90-day blocks. There's a book called it's called The 12-Week Year. Michael Hyatt, his Full Focus Planner. They all focus on 90-day, 1 quarter time frames. And when you focus on that, there's enough time to get significant things done, but you have goals that are, they're close enough that it feels urgent. And so really what our suggestion is pick your top 3 priorities. What are the 3 things that are going to get the biggest impact in the course of the next 90 days? And focus on that, because I have yet to meet a business owner who has unlimited time and unlimited budget. If you happen to be that business owner, if you know that business owner, let me know. I would love to have a conversation with that person.
One reason why I'm so glad we're talking about priorities today is because we've spent a lot of time really going through some detail that could be really useful to help someone grow their business. But if you're like me, I get stuck at this point. Sometimes it's the perfect plan is mapped out on paper, and then sometimes the hardest decision you have to make is the decision to just start and just get going.
Yeah.
So I think that by walking through these scenarios, it will really help give people a visual for, maybe they'll identify with one. And one of these will be the one to help them just know where to get started, out of all the things. So do you want to jump into scenarios now, or do you have anything else that you want to?
Let's go.
Okay. All right.
Let's go.
So I'm just going to present a few scenarios to you, and then I want you to suggest to me what you think my top priorities should be for the next 90 days. So scenario 1 is, I have traffic to my website, but I'm not getting a lot of leads. What should my top priorities be?
So you're getting traffic, but not leads. And that's fairly common. Depending on what someone's business is, I've encountered that in a lot of situations. So really what I would encourage there. So again, we think in terms of what would the 3 priorities be in that particular scenario? Well, 1 would be to clarify your message. Because if people get to your website and they're not turning into leads, well, one problem is they might not understand what you do, or it might not be very clear. If your website's not easy to use, again, there are different factors there, but clarify your message would be 1 priority. Number 2 is not just your message, because that's really the first step. The next thing would be make sure that you optimize your website, in particular your homepage, or if there's a key landing page where you're sending traffic, make sure it's optimized for lead conversion. There's a structure to how to communicate, to lay out your content, lay out your images. It's where it's engaging. It's based on the structure of story. And then number 3 is give people something to do other than just a contact form. So create a sales funnel. We've talked about that at length in previous shows, but the idea is that you have some sort of content that somebody would find useful enough that they'll give you their email address in exchange for it. So the one that's on our website is 6 ways to win more customers through your website. And name and email address, and somebody gets that PDF. And we've created all sorts of different offers like that. We have one client that has an infographic. We have others where we've created these PDF guides that are very much targeted to their audiences. So clarify your message, optimize your homepage, and create a sales funnel, a lead offer that gives them an option especially for when they're not ready to fill out your contact form. They're not ready to schedule a meeting. They're not ready to request a quote. So that would be one scenario. AnnieLaurie, looks like we got a little freeze up here. So that would be one scenario. Now, another scenario, so the first scenario that we just went through is you've got traffic coming to your website, but you're not getting leads. Well, the second scenario is that you have traffic, or I'm sorry, that you don't have traffic and you're just trying to get in front of people. And so it might be, for, hey, you're back.
That silly internet.
So AR, we were going through the second scenario of I don't have traffic coming in, and so I need to get in front of more people. And so really in that particular scenario, and I'm gonna pull this back up real quick. So here, that would be focusing in on drivers. And these are the activities that get you in front of your audience and help you get found by your audience. So they're searching on Google, they're searching on Bing. So in that scenario, I don't have much traffic. I need to be in front of more people. And we do a lot of work with B2B and service-based companies. So one of the recommendations could be some sort of an outbound sales campaign. That could be prospecting on LinkedIn. That could be cold emails. That could be a networking strategy of getting to, joining some networking groups or things along those lines. Number two could be search engine optimization, maybe including some pay-per-click advertising. And that would be making sure that your website is optimized for the search engines. And that makes it easier to get traffic coming into your website, targeting the phrases that people would be searching to find what you do. So if you have a roofing company, it would be making sure that when somebody's searching for roofers near me, that you're showing up in the search engines. And then a third component. So those first two, some sort of outbound sales campaign, and then search engine optimization or pay-per-click. Those are both drivers. First one was outbound. The second one was inbound. Well, the next one would be engagers. And that's how do you build trust as you're getting in front of people, if you're getting them to your website. And so would be create some blogs, create some social content that people can read and engage with that shows that you can answer their questions. A simple way, one of the most effective ways to use a blog is answer the questions that people have about your product, about your service. That content marketing could also be doing some social media. So post on LinkedIn. If your customers are on LinkedIn, great, post on LinkedIn. We post to LinkedIn, just as an example, we post to LinkedIn 3 to 4 times a week. We do a weekly marketing video. We have a couple of other posts that go out. So stay in front of your audience with content that builds trust and credibility. So that scenario two, you don't have traffic. You need to be in front of more people. So outbound sales campaign, search engine marketing, and then some content, be it blogging or social media. So those would be the 3 priorities for the next 90 days.
What I think too is important to point out, depending, say that's you and scenario 2 really resonates, and you may, okay, I'm going to really focus on content marketing. I want to get a blog set up. I want to start posting regularly. That in and of itself could produce a myriad of 90-day goals. So it may even, depending on where you are in this process, you could even take one of those and build that out into a whole 90-day goal plan, depending on how much you already have in place. Because you don't want to have so many things that you're overwhelmed and that you can't get it all done. But at the same time, maybe the first 90 is get blogging set up perfectly. You might have to find somebody to write for you. You may want to outsource it or use one of the writing services. You may want to write it yourself. You've got a plan for that, so and you might not have a blog on your website yet. You might need help getting that set up. All of those things could be its own point. So maybe if that's your scenario, we may have just given you a whole year's worth of goals.
Well, and so one of the things I want to make mention of as well is because, again, depending on where you are, the next 90 days are going to look different than than what somebody else is going to be focused on. Sure. Even if they're one of your competitors, it would look different based on your resources, what you're comfortable with, who can help you.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I want to make mention of too is by working in these 90-day blocks, what you focus on for the first 90 days, a lot of times what happens is you get some of those things in place and they just become a part of the routine.
Mm-hmm.
And so it might be that as you go into your second 90 days, a couple of your priorities are different. And depending on the scope of what you're trying to do, maybe it carries over. Maybe, your top priority from the first 90 days continues to be your marketing priority in the second 90 days. And that's where it's good just to evaluate, track what's happening, make sure you're staying focused on your plan. Your plan really should be kind of this living document that you're updating as you go along.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, let's jump on to scenario 3. And that will harken back to last week's episode and what we talked about. The scenario is I have not been marketing very well to my current customers. So I want to start proactively reaching out. What should my first priority be?
So first priority is, I would say, email marketing is really one of the best ways to reach your existing customers. Now, some people may go, well, I don't have my customers' emails. So your top priority may be start getting your customers' emails. Mm-hmm. And what you can do is a couple of ways to stay in front of them. One could be create a nurture email campaign. And that's just email that's content that you communicate on a regular basis. Maybe it's once a month, maybe it's twice a month. Depends on your capacity. What can you do? What can you manage? The other depends on your audience. What would be valuable? If once a month would be valuable and you don't have capacity to do more than that, then great. Do a monthly email where you're sharing some content. Maybe you've written some blogs. Maybe you have some articles that would be helpful. Maybe you record a video to give them some sort of monthly update on where things are as it relates to their business, industry, et cetera. Maybe you provide content from somebody else that's complementary to what you do, and you do some interviews. There's all sorts of content that can be created, but stay in front of them. Now, the second thing, even in that same vein, would be a sales email. And that could be something that you do once a month, once a quarter, periodically. Maybe it's seasonal, depending on what your business is. But what you're doing there is you are sending a specific communication, an email to them that is asking them to buy something or inviting them into a process of discovering another product or another service that you offer. As we talked about last week, one of the biggest opportunities a lot of times is to introduce other services, other products to your customers, because a lot of times they don't know. And it's easy to assume that our customers know everything that we do when they don't. Mm-hmm. So email, even social media, invite them to connect with you on Facebook, connect on LinkedIn, whatever channels make sense, whatever social channels make sense for you and your business, and make sure that you have some of that customer-oriented content. So the first one we talked about was some sort of recurring nurture email that's sharing helpful content. Number 2 is a sales email or social media that's inviting them to a new service, a new product, an upgrade, something along those lines. And then the third one is it's marketing too, but it's also inviting your customers to help you market your business. And that's get testimonials. Mm-hmm. Ask some of your best customers to provide you with a testimonial. Mm-hmm. How has your product made their life better? How have you saved them money? How have you saved them time? How have you provided them with opportunities that they didn't have before they used your product or service? How do you make their life better? Mm-hmm. Get it on video if you can, and then share that. Share those stories with other customers, because what that does is that reinforces the value of what you do. And that then becomes great content that you can use on your website. And that can help as new people come to your website that are considering doing business with you. So marketing to your existing customers, do a nurture email campaign, do periodic sales emails, and look for opportunities to get reviews, to get testimonials, and continue to share that with your other customers as well, because that reinforces your credibility in their minds.
Okay, so as we wrap up shortly, there's a real important key to all of this that I know that you really believe wholeheartedly in, and that's accountability. get accountability. Can you
Yes.
a little bit about why that is so important?
So in terms of executing this, so it's great. Okay, great, Steve. You've given us a couple of scenarios. What do we do with that? Well, number one, get things scheduled. Okay, now we're talking project management. Now we're talking about things like the 12-week year, or, again, Michael Hyde's full focus planner. Now we're talking execution. So whatever your priorities are, break them down into tasks. Some will be one-time tasks. Some will be recurring. Get them onto a calendar. If you're using some sort of a project management tool, we use Asana. Maybe you're using tasks or whatever you're using. Get them down. Break them into tasks. Block time on your calendar. Marketing's not going to happen on its own. And whether that's you, whether that's somebody on your team, make sure that you have clear goals. What are your metrics? How are you tracking whether you're on pace or not? One of the things that I use is a weekly scorecard. It's a simple little spreadsheet where I have certain marketing activities that I know are important for us. So each week I'll go through and I'll score those activities. Did I do it? Did I not? And that gives me a good indicator as to whether or not I'm on track. So make a quick little spreadsheet, list out what those priorities are, and then track it over the course of each week. Now, the accountability piece, this is what's missing for a lot of people. Have someone that you can call, Zoom, or meet with every week. Doesn't have to be a long conversation. It can be 10 minutes. And share what your priorities are for the week. Let them know, hey, here are the 3 things that I'm focused on getting done this week. And as you have the call the next week, they're asking you, hey, did you get those 3 things done? Okay, well, if you didn't, what kept you from getting them done? Well, what are you going to do this week? And what that does is when we share our goals, when we share what our priorities are with somebody else, then the likelihood of us actually getting it done goes up. That's applicable in just about every part of life. That's why people use personal trainers. That's why we train and exercise in groups, because success rates go up significantly. So find that person who can help you hold you accountable. Maybe there are things that you can help them stay on track with. Maybe it's not their marketing. Maybe it's other areas of business. And just get it done. Schedule it, commit to it, get some accountability, and adjust as you go.
What's your advice on reviewing and planning for the next quarter?
So that goes back to, for the 90 days, one of the things in our planner is have a specific goal for the next 90 days. Maybe the goal for the next 90 days is, I need to get this stuff set up. Maybe it's not a tangible, maybe it's not, hey, we're trying to get 500 people to our website each month. Maybe it's, maybe that's next quarter. Maybe your goal is, we want to get 100 email addresses between now and the end of the quarter. So track your progress towards that. Having that scorecard, that weekly scorecard, is really helpful, because that can let you see your progress toward it. And that lets you know whether or not you're on track, instead of waiting until you get to 90 days to measure, go, oh, wait, we missed it. And we didn't adjust. So definitely look at that on a regular basis, and then just continue to evaluate as you get closer to the end of the 90 days. Start looking ahead. What are the priorities? Did we get everything done this quarter that we wanted to get done? If not, maybe that needs to carry over. What's changed? What's adjusted? Pull the one-page planner back out and continue to go through that. And because when you first fill it out, you're going to have a bunch of ideas, a bunch of things you want to do. And in the context of where you are at that point, go ahead and start implementing, identify what are the priorities for the next 90 days.
Thanks. We have been talking about this for weeks, and this is sort of the, culmination of how to make a one-page marketing roadmap. And what I love about the word roadmap is that this is a journey, and it's like a cross-country road trip. And so I feel like it's important just to know this is going to take time and patience, but diligence to keep pressing forward. What would be your biggest encouragement for our listeners as we sort of wrap up this series?
My biggest encouragement is commit for the long term. And in that, you're not going to get it all right the first time. Marketing is one of those things. There are some things where there's precision, but there's a lot of marketing that's trial and error. It's figuring it out. It's seeing what works and what doesn't, using metrics to make those decisions. You experiment, you try things. Some things are going to work really well. Some things aren't going to work as well as you thought they were going to. So you figure that out, you adjust, and you keep moving forward. And the other thing is marketing is a long play. And, it's like running a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not, hey, we're going to do this one campaign and we're done. Marketing has to be really, it's got to be just sort of wired into how you do business, because marketing is about communicating clearly, building trust and credibility, and helping people make the best decision as to who's going to solve their problems, whether that's you or someone else. And so just commit, give yourself grace, and ask for help. That's another thing too. You don't have to do it all on your own. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can catch us at wayfindmarketing.com. You can catch me, Steve, at wayfindmarketing.com. And so there's different ways to get in touch with us.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Steve. I think this has been a good series. And I really hope that if anyone listening or watching, if you have more questions, that you would reach out to Steve and let us know how we can help you.
Absolutely. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, like us, follow us, subscribe. You can get more information on our website, wayfindmarketing.com/live. You can catch the recording of this as a podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, on Spotify, on Anchor. So wherever you're listening to podcasts, just search for Wayfind Marketing Live and you will find us. And join us again next Friday at noon Central, where we will dive back into marketing to help it make it easier, more effective for you, so you can get back to doing what you enjoy the most. Thanks, everybody.